Hello and welcome to Walk the Talk. I am Shekhar Gupta, and you know what? You've heard about the famed old tiger of Mysore. My guest this week, the very famous tigress of Bangalore, Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw. Welcome back to Walk the Talk.
Thanks, Shekhar.
And this is really your fortress. This is your manufacturing hub, a Biocon Park.
Well, yes, it is. You know, it's the largest biopharmaceutical biomanufacturing hub in India, which I think is something that we're very proud of.
And it's totally indigenous. It's
Absolutely.
a startup. It's a startup.
Absolutely.
So it's not a foreign pharma company that came to India and set up something, or it's not a third generation thing.
No, it's totally homegrown.
Totally homegrown. And feels good?
Feels wonderful because, you know, this is the largest biopharmaceutical hub in Asia. It is home to about 7,000 scientists and technologists. And it is the only hub which has research and manufacturing together.
And I believe more than 10% of your staff have doctorates.
Even a little higher percentage than that.
Percentage than that.
Yes.
And most of the rest are science graduates or postgraduates.
And engineers.
And we thought biology was no way to get a job in India.
Well, I think it's the most exciting area, Shekhar. You know, I think today, the biotech area is such a wonderful space to be in, because I think the opportunities are limitless, because it's not just about biopharmaceuticals, it's about agri-bio, it's about enzymes, it's about bioinformatics, it's about bio-IT and so on and so forth.
So it's about environment, it's about seeds, it's about everything.
Absolutely.
And yet this sector has been hobbled very badly.
It has, because I think there hasn't been a cohesive focus on biotechnology. I think policies have been very ad hoc. There have been pulls and pushes. We've had huge challenges in the biotech sector. Regulatory challenges are the biggest challenges sector.
So are you being driven away from India in biotech?
Well, you know, let's put it this way. I think there have been really grave challenges for us to address in this particular sector. For instance, fortunately, we are not in agri-biotech, but the agri-biotech sector has suffered very badly because of, this huge aversion to genetically modified crops or even trial GM crops. In our sector, we are confronted with the clinical challenge because, clinical trials have been put on hold for a very long time. And that is absolutely defeating this whole concept of innovation and drug innovation. And in our sector, we are so dependent on clinical development for any kind of biopharmaceutical activity.
And if we count that out, that all Indian entrepreneurs like you will be reduced to making generics and not discovering your own molecules.
Absolutely. I mean, on one side, the government is, spewing out this great rhetoric of innovation.
And make in India.
And make in India. And on the other hand, they are constraining you and stifling you and stopping you from making new drugs or even developing drugs that need clinical trials.
Right. Such as what?
Every drug needs a clinical trial. Even a generic needs some amount of clinical trials.
Trial, yes. No, I'm asking, what are the drugs that you've been working on where you feel hobbled?
Well, we have been developing insulin analogs. We've been developing biosimilars. We've been developing, very important novel molecules like antibodies. And many of these, and we are also developing an oral insulin. And many of these new drugs...
You carry a little bottle in your bag, I find, with white tablets that say nothing.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very exciting program.
Right.
And yet, we've been challenged. We've not been able to do the important clinical development.
You can't do those clinical tests in India, those clinical trials
Well,
in
it's
India.
not that you can't do them, but it takes forever to get approvals. And, time is money. I mean, I've lost one valuable year out of the development timeline for oral insulin. And therefore...
And this is the diabetes capital of the world.
Exactly. And that has necessitated me to take this clinical development program to the US.
Oh, so you are testing your own oral insulin in America?
Yes. Because I couldn't do those trials in India, because we just didn't get the approvals in time.
So this is really reversing the equation, because I thought the propaganda was that MNCs from rich countries came to our countries for clinical trials and used our poor, innocent people, ignorant people as guinea pigs. It's happening the other way around.
Well, I first and foremost, take a strong view of this use of the word guinea pigs, because it is not to be used that way.
Right.
I think today we are talking about doing responsible clinical trials and ethical clinical trials. It's about really making a difference and improving healthcare.
Inverted commas there.
So I think this is really bad propaganda. Unfortunately, this whole clinical research arena has been hijacked by NGOs and lay people who have basically created this kind of fear-mongering amongst the lay person, thinking that, companies go about doing clinical trials in a very unethical way. That's not true. I think every sector has errant players, and instead of penalizing those who don't lie or those who abuse the system, you block everybody.
And you say go to America.
Yes.
Because they have a regulatory system in place.
Yes, absolutely.
Which if you defy, you pay for it very dearly.
Absolutely.
Right. So, is there paranoia about science in India?
I think there is a certain paranoia about science, because there is a certain risk related to science which people are very wary about, and therefore there is an inherent risk aversion to science and technology, or at least science and technology of the unknown. Generics are easy.
But that is what science is all about. In fact, that's the distinction between science and technology.
Absolutely.
The science is quest for the unknown.
Absolutely.
Right.
So you very rightly said. I think this spirit of curiosity.
Mangalyaan going up is a wonderful thing, but that's technology.
Yes.
It's not so much science.
Well, there was a lot of unknowns even in the Mangalyaan mission, because they had a lot of guesstimates going in terms of how they would finally use the gravity pull.
But that was science going into sort of dovetailing into technology, but not basic research driven by curiosity.
Well, there was a lot of curiosity. I won't sort of dilute that bit. But getting back to our science, I think there are a lot of unknowns. Just because we have a lot to discover about disease itself, there are so many questions to be asked about why do we get certain diseases? Why do we get cancer? There are so many counter views about what causes cancer. Today, the whole debate on cancer is it accidental?
Nowadays it's just luck.
It's about the quirk of fate,
much, yes.
And then there are others that say, do you have genetic predisposition to cancer? And do you have carcinogens that cause cancer? There is a multiplicity of various reasons. But that's what the quest of science is all about.
Right.
You have to discover what causes certain diseases.
But fear of the unknown in India?
In India, I personally believe, yes, there is a clear fear of the unknown. There is a lot of risk aversion in science and technology. They want predictability in everything that they do. And it starts from people, it starts from investors, it starts from, the regulators. You can see this mindset across society.
And you've been fighting it. That's the reason I introduced you as a Tigress of Bangalore. You've been trying to change this. How successful have you been in the past 10, 12 years?
Well, at least, I would like to feel that we have made a big difference using innovation as our platform. We were able to bring two very important molecules to the market. One was the cancer drug for head and neck cancer, Biomab EGFR as we call it.
For which cancer? Head and neck cancer.
Head and neck cancer, and that actually affects 30% of cancer patients in India.
Right.
Largely because of the tobacco chewing habits that Indians have. And that drug has made a huge difference to a large number of cancer patients who suffer from these kind of oral cancers and head and neck cancers.
So the price is much lower in India.
Absolutely. And that was a big moment of pride for us.
Right.
And then we've recently introduced another drug, which is a very unique drug. It's an anti-CD6 antibody that basically targets a certain pathway which really triggers autoimmune diseases. And in that we first got it approved for psoriasis, and it's a very interesting, and now we realize that it's actually implicated in many other autoimmune diseases like multiple sclerosis, lupus, and many other orphan diseases which are subsets of these kind of diseases.
And it's non-steroidal.
And it's non-steroidal. It's targeted, it's immunotherapy. So it basically works on that bit of the immune system that suddenly malfunctions. So it's basically rebooting the immune system, correcting the immune system.
Because in some ways, autoimmune diseases are the last frontier of medical science.
Absolutely, and now I think there's a huge focus and understanding on immunology.
Because most of these
cancer itself.
Most of these are quality of life diseases. Many of them threaten your life, but most of them are quality of life diseases.
Yeah. No, immunology and the immune system meet so many diseases, including cancer.
Right. And that's where you get into this debate about what is inflammation, how does the immune system relate to this.
Correct.
Now I see something new saying that even depression might be related to inflammation. So we don't know.
We don't know.
Everything's changing. So these are the uncertainties of science that
absolutely, and that's what it's about. And that's what research and the quest of this is all about.
So in your sort of fisticuffs with authorities on this, have you found people sympathetic? Have you found them stupid? Have you found them just risk averse? Or do you sometimes think you have to deal with people who don't understand science at all, or who don't appreciate science?
I have met all of these people, okay? I believe we really have people who are very knowledgeable. There are experts who we should much more than what we are doing today. There are people who don't know a thing, but they want to pretend they know it all. And there are people who are in between. Now, I think this country has to focus on building expertise and experience, because this is about building experience. If you don't encourage people to start really getting deeply interested and involved in clinical research, you are not going to get that in-depth understanding.
Right.
And we have a very, very strong medical cadre who are capable of doing.
Have last 10 years been particularly frustrating?
It has been very frustrating, largely because of the fact that we have seen this clinical hold, which has actually put a full stop on a lot of very important innovation programs. And for us, I know that we suffered very badly.
So explain this clinical hold to an idiot like me.
Well, basically it all started with an NGO that filed a PIL in terms of clinical trials in India, where they basically said that clinical trials should not be conducted in a country like India because there's to be abuse and exploitation of people, and because of ignorance and poverty. And this particular PIL was admitted in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court actually instructed the drugs controller to put a hold on clinical trials until they then came up with guidelines to rectify a lot of these concerns. The first question I have to ask is, I don't see this as a practice in any other country.
Yes.
Because
the judiciary takes precedence over the regulator.
Absolutely. It is the regulator's responsibility to address and answer certain questions, and to make sure that even if there is such a PIL, they should argue it immediately with the Supreme Court and say, look, we do not agree with this, or if there are aspects that they agree with, that we will fix it.
And we'll be responsible if something goes wrong.
And we will be responsible if something goes wrong. But that was not the way it was addressed.
But this has led to a clinical hold. So all research has come to a standstill.
Yes. So then clinical trials were put on a hold, and everyone was instructed no more clinical trials till we basically have a clear guidelines on clinical trials. And by the way, those guidelines are yet to be announced. So what is happening...
That's why people like you have to find your people to do clinical trials in America.
Correct.
So that revenue gets shifted and frankly knowledge gets shifted.
And that is most unfortunate.
Most unfortunate.
So I think that it is about time, because we've taken 3 years to come up with these guidelines, too long a time. There are international best practices of conducting clinical trials which all of us abide by and conform to. So I don't see why, if we don't conform to these trials, that we have to now abide by a different set of guidelines. And now these guidelines, which are yet to be adopted, are now seeking to kind of change the set of norms guiding clinical trials. Some of them I think are pretty decent recommendations.
But it's taking too long.
But it's taking too long.
Right. And it's not necessary to see every biotech entrepreneur as a thief.
Absolutely. I mean,
or as a murderer.
No, but we are all trying to actually make a difference to healthcare. We are trying to save lives, trying to improve people's quality of life. We are certainly, not doing any of what is being suggested.
Yeah. You've had to take overseas because of the blocks here, not just your research, but a lot of your production as well. I think you have a big plant in Malaysia.
Well, you know, I think the new Make in India theme is an extremely important theme. This facility itself shows you what is possible.
That you can make in India. Yes, I've seen your production labs inside. They look like space labs because I see people walking around in space, what look like space suits.
Yeah. So this is a big opportunity
under
for India.
Several air curtains, physical curtains.
Yeah. So this is a big opportunity for India because I think high-end biopharmaceutical manufacturing is a huge opportunity for India. And I think this is where India can make a difference to global healthcare and create a big business out of this kind of manufacturing.
Because you make the new insulins there, which are available at a fraction of the price of the imported one. And
yeah, India is about affordable innovation.
And doctors tell me as good.
Absolutely. So I think this is the big opportunity that India has. Now, the big deterrents to this are the following. The supporting infrastructure is not optimal. For instance, on this particular facility, we have our own captive power, our own captive effluent treatment facility, our own captive water treatment facilities, etc., etc., etc. Logistics are really pathetic compared to other parts of the world. So, you know, it is a challenge, but we are willing to face that challenge provided that we get some support from the government. But guess what? This is an SEZ, and yet after promising us a tax-free regime, you suddenly introduce MAT. So
MAT is minimum alternate tax.
Absolutely. And so it's a kind of a tax introduced with stealth after you basically lure us to make all the investments.
So no wonder you ran away to Malaysia.
And Malaysia has the most attractive tax incentives. So, you know, they welcomed us. They have great logistics, they have great infrastructure. And,
there are questions about their airlines, so be careful.
I don't want to put on that. I don't have to worry about the airlines so much, but I would say that yet when I compare Malaysia and here, I would look at it in two ways. Malaysia, great infrastructure, great support, great governance in terms of us functioning and operating there. But in terms of cost competitiveness, nothing to beat India. Let me tell you that. We will still continue to make the lowest cost biopharmaceuticals out of India.
Skilled manpower.
Yes, and that is a big factor because all our key operations are being run by people out of India. And that's a big advantage India has. So the government needs to really focus on supporting this sector. See, there's another aspect of this sector I just want to mention, taking advantage of your show. The biopharmaceutical industry is one industry where there is a gestational phase in terms of taking a product to the market. So when you make your investments, even if the plant is up and running, it takes us 2 years to get regulatory approvals from international regulators. So that means if you starting the meter for tax-free incentives on day one of starting operations,
time is lost.
Then you lose 2 years of tax-free credits.
And in fact, it may take you that much longer just getting routine clearances in India.
Yeah. So what we are saying is extend the tax credit for the SEZs in biopharmaceuticals by 2 years. Because the time it takes to get regulatory approval. So don't deny us that extra tax credit because the investments we make are huge. And the gestational timelines it takes us to get regulatory approvals before we can export are against us.
But I'm coming back to this thing about science. I sometimes think we are a country of Luddites. We are afraid of science. And we celebrate every engineering or technological success as great science. That's my argument with Mangalyaan also.
Yes.
That anything that is going into the area of the unknown, either we are afraid of it or we say it was discovered in Vedic times. So what's new?
You know, that's the point I want to question. In Vedic times, we had this great quest for the unknown.
Absolutely.
We did wonderful things. We celebrate our past Vigyan and our wonderful heritage of science and technology of the Vedic times. What happened? Why is it that we have declined to this level? I mean, why is it that we are so scared to do something novel or new or you know.
And you're very passionate about Bangalore, which might get the distinction now, an unhappy distinction of building the slowest metro in India after Kolkata.
Very sad. And that's poor governance.
That's poor governance. So you contribute to that also. You have your BPAC and I know again you go with gloves on or off.
Well, I think that's why we created BPAC, to basically be a good.
It's a citizens group.
And it's a citizens group. We want to drive good governance. We want to pressurize the government to, you know, providing better governance. It's a, you know, it's a slow, big haul, but I think it will happen.
But Kiran, tell me, what makes you so different from other Indian businesses? All of them give the finance minister 10 out of 10. I mean, if they could, they'll give 11 out of 10 on the day of the budget, right? They praise every government, while on the sidelines they say, mar gaye. You never mince your words, whether on Twitter or in public speech.
Because
you're not afraid.
I want India to be a great country. I want India Inc. to be really a very strong sector for India.
Right.
And I want the government to do its bit to get us there. By paying lip service, you're not going to get the government to do anything.
Right.
But constantly challenging the government, I think you will get them to act. And that's the way I see myself.
And keeping on paying your taxes so nobody can come after you.
I mean, I personally believe that, you know, I don't, you know, want any favors from the government. I just want the government to do what it's supposed to do and to do it well.
And to not get in the way. For example, in the recent past, clinical trials were even put under the Environment Ministry.
Yeah.
So that was one more set of clearances.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's very sad what's happening. But I think if we really focus on simplifying regulation, giving more clarity to rules and regulations, I think we will see the light at the end of the tunnel.
But don't just fight for biomedical, also fight for agro-biotech. That area is finished right now.
Well, we are, because as
agricultural scientists at IIRI, they are trying.
Well, fortunately, I think the minister has actually made a very bold statement.
Right.
He actually said he is not going to stop field trials. And I think he is one minister who I have met personally, who is very committed to biotechnology. So I have hope there.
You are not afraid of GM foods?
I'm not. Not at all. I mean, I really think if you understand science, there's nothing to be afraid of.
And you with cancer in your very close circle.
Absolutely. I mean, come
your
on, we
friend,
all...
Your husband.
Of course, yeah. I mean, we all basically consume genetically modified foods every day.
Absolutely.
Without us knowing it or admitting it.
I don't know where the soybean oil comes from.
Exactly.
Particularly if it comes from America. So we have to give up this fear.
Absolutely. And the day we stop fearing science, we will win.
Well, we might. It will be a long haul, Kiran, but we might do it if you continue to be a tigress like this. And that's why.
Well, I will never give up.
That's why I so cherish your friendship.
Thank you, Shekhar. Wonderful pleasure.